This is England, and they're known for a whole lot of things. They have great food, weather, and great footballers.
The lot. Headbutted the floor.
There are around 270 English footballers in the top 5 leagues of Europe. And if you're like me, you've always asked the question, where are these people from? If not, that's fine. I guess it's really interesting, so I promise you should stay and watch this. So today we're going to be looking at where the most English footballers come from. So the way that this is going to work is that we're going to take each player and put them into the county that they're from. If you don't know what a county is, basically just think of a state or a province in a different country. But do you see how small England is on this map? They thought it was a good idea to put 47 counties into this thing. With that being said, there are also a few rules that I'd like to go over for who was selected and who was omitted from this list. Rule number 1 is that they have to play for the English national team or otherwise declare that they are English. This means that a player like Balogun, who plays for the United States now, is not going to be on the list. Rule number 2 is that these players have to play in one of the top 5 leagues, or in the Championship, or in League One. The reason that we include these leagues is so that we can get a good number of players and that the list isn't too big or too small. Since the Championship and League One are in the lower divisions of English football, this means that they have a lot more English players to pull from, and so they are included in the list. Rule number 3 is that each player has to have had at least 10 appearances for a club professionally. The reason for this is so that we don't get any U21 or U18 players who have never played a game or have only played 10 minutes professionally for a team. The fourth and final rule is that there has to be some information about where a player is from. While compiling the list, there were some players who had zero public information about where they were born or where they came from, so they have to be omitted from the list. This leaves us with a grand total of 707 players to analyze. Before the official list begins, it's also important to note that there are 12 players who are English but were born outside of the country. Those countries include Canada, the Ivory Coast, Guinea-Bissau, Jamaica, the DRC or Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Netherlands, Sierra Leone, and Austria. The DRC has the most, with 4 players. Also, one last note is that Fikayo Tomori comes from Canada and Raheem Sterling comes from Jamaica. The Chalobah brothers come from Sierra Leone as well. So starting off our list at the very bottom is the county of Rutland. When you really look at it, it makes the most sense because they have the lowest population out of all of the English counties. So I decided to go and look on Wikipedia to see if I could find anybody of note from Rutland, and there's this guy, I guess. It's time for a quiz. Who do you think has more professional players? The historic county of Cornwall, or this tiny little island just off the coast of the country? If you said this tiny little island, you'd be correct. In second to last place, we have the county of Cornwall, who only has 1 professional player coming from it. Who is that one player, you might be asking? Well, it's Christian Walton, who plays for Ipswich. Coming in with only 2 professional players is a tie between 3 counties, which is the Isle of Wight, Wiltshire, and Worcestershire. I swear to you that there is no possible way to actually pronounce that. Following those counties, there's another tie, but this time it's between 5 counties who all have 3 players from them. Those counties are Buckinghamshire, Gloucestershire, Herefordshire, Lincolnshire, and Warwickshire. There are actually 3 players of note from these counties, who include Eric Dyer, Jared Bowen, and Patrick Bamford. Northamptonshire and Norfolk take up the next spot with 4 players each. The only player of note from either of these counties is Ivan Toney, who came from Northampton. Once again, we have another tie for next place, and that will be between Cumbria and Shropshire, who each have 5 players. The only player of note would be Dean Henderson, who is from Cumbria. Once again, we have another tie between 5 counties, and they all come in 30th place this time. Those counties include Bristol, Dorset, Leicestershire, Northumberland, and West Sussex, and each of those counties have 6 players each. Coming in at 29th place, we finally get a county all by itself, and it's East Sussex. They have a total of 7 players, and the only one of any importance would be Lewis Dunk. Next up, we have the counties of Surrey, Suffolk, and Oxfordshire, which all have 8 players each. Nick Pope comes from Suffolk, Harvey Elliott, Connor Gallagher, and Will Hughes all come from Surrey, and Oxfordshire has really no one of note. Tied for 24th place, we have the counties of Somerset and East Riding of Yorkshire. Yorkshire. That's a really long name, but both of them have 9 players each. Tyrone Mings would be the best player to come from Somerset, and East Riding of Yorkshire really doesn't have anybody, but you can take your pick. As we get into the double digits, we now have 2 counties with 10 players each, and they would be Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire. Ben Chilwell is the best player from Bedfordshire, and once again, there isn't really anyone of note from Cambridgeshire. Finally, we're at a point where we could theoretically start making starting 11s for each of the counties. However, I don't know how well Jamal Lascelles would do in goal. Speaking of Mr. Lascelles, Derbyshire and Kent both have 11 players each. Kent not having anyone of note, and Derbyshire having Jamal Lascelles. Something important that I thought I should point out is the fact that Kent has the 6th highest population out of all the counties in England, but they barely crack into the top half of this list. Coming in at 19th on the list is the county of North Yorkshire, which has a total of 12 players, and the best player out of all of these is Ben Godfrey. However, I doubt Erling Haaland would agree with me. Another tie at 17th place is Nottinghamshire and Essex both have 13 players each. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall is from Nottinghamshire, and Flynn Downs is from Essex. Sitting alone at 15th place is the county of Staffordshire. The most expensive goalkeeper in the world, Aaron Ramsdale, comes from here. In 14th place, we have County Durham, who thought it was a good idea to put county in front of their name and just be different than everybody else. They have a total of 15 players, and world-famous Andy Carroll is from here. It's time for another quiz. What do you think Andy Carroll has more of? Assault charges or international goals? It's a trick question. It's tied. 2 assault charges, 2 goals. Up next we have the county of Tyne and Wear, which apparently is named after the 2 rivers that flow through it. Regardless, they have 16 players total, and the best of which is Jordan Pickford, who is the international goalkeeper for England. In 12th place we have the county of Devon. The best player from there is Ollie Watkins. There's also this guy named Jack Sparks, who looks extremely sad in his picture on Transfermarkt. Coming up in 11th place, we have the county of Berkshire. They have a total of 18 players, and Premier League legend Theo Walcott is from this county. Now that we've made it to the top 10, I'm just going to take a quick moment to say thank you if you're still watching the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you like the content. It takes a lot of work to put this list together, and so it would really mean a lot to me. Thanks. It's fitting that the top 10 starts with another tie between the 2 counties of Hertfordshire and Lancashire. Both of these counties have 22 players each, and there are actually some good ones in there. The former Tottenham duo of Oliver Skipp and Harry Winks are from Hertfordshire, whereas the legend Phil Jones is from Lancashire, as well as some guy named Reece James, but I don't know if you know about him. Once again, we have another tie for 7th place here between the counties of Cheshire and West Yorkshire. Phil Foden and Michael Keane are both from Cheshire, and the beast himself, James Milner, is from West Yorkshire. Coming in at 6th place is the county of Hampshire, which has a total of 24 players total. A great midfield trio of Mason Mount, James Ward-Prowse, and Oxlade-Chamberlain come from this county. South Yorkshire comes in at 5th place with a total of 26 players. This county is the first time that we really see any good amount of talent. Players such as John Stones, Jamie Vardy, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Matty Longstaff all come from South Yorkshire. Coming in at 4th place, we have the West Midlands. There's quite a large jump to 37 players coming from this county, and out of all the players in this region, Jude Bellingham has to be the best. Also just a note, Jack Grealish, the traitor that he is, comes from Solihull, which is in the West Midlands. Now that we've made it to the top 3, it may be pretty apparent that we haven't touched the big metropolitan areas of the country. Not only that, but the top 6 clubs of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and Tottenham all come from the top 3 counties. With that being said, the county that comes in 3rd place is Merseyside. There are a total of 45 players from the region. However, most of the players from this region don't make many people's lists for the best players in England. The only player who would get that shout would be Trent Alexander-Arnold. Coming in at 2nd place, can we get a drum roll please? Is Greater Manchester, with a total of 52 players. Players that are from the Greater Manchester area include Kieran Trippier, Marcus Rashford, James Tarkowski, and Brandon Williams. Finally, in 1st place, to probably nobody's surprise, is the Greater London area, which has more than double the amount of players than Greater Manchester. If you can think of any good English player, they are most likely from this county. Saka, Kane, the real Reece James, Jadon Sancho, Tammy Abraham, and so many more players are all from the Greater London area. Now that we've gone through the entire list, there are a few important things that I would like to point out. For those of you who aren't map nerds like myself, the map was constructed using a choropleth map. There are 6 total data classes and each one was assigned a color. The deeper the color, the more players there were in a county. This key here helps understand the map a little bit better. On this map, Greater London County is by far the highest. An issue that I had during the collection of the data was trying to break down London into the many neighborhoods that it has. However, there are as many neighborhoods as there are counties in the entire country. Not only that, but some players only had London listed as their place of birth. Perhaps in the future I can come back to this video and try to pinpoint each player to their neighborhood. The next important piece of analysis is to see which counties have the highest ratio of footballers to the regular population. This is quite easy to calculate because all that has to be done is to divide the amount of footballers in a county by the total population. The counties with the highest ratio are Cheshire, Merseyside, and Cambridgeshire. The counties with the lowest ratio are Wiltshire, Lincolnshire, and Cornwall. The final thing that I'd like to mention is that there are way more leagues in England than just these top 3. Not only that, but there are English players that also play in places such as the Netherlands, which are not included in the top 5 leagues of Europe. This data is subject to change depending on how much collecting a person can do. With that being said, this list could be seen as a general trend for the density in which footballers in England come from. Thank you all so much for watching the video. The next country that I think I'm going to do is France, so get ready for that. I know that they have a lot of players from outside the country, so it should be an interesting analysis. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day.